like being raised by Michael Jackson? That's not many people can say that. So a big one to pause, and I just want to invite you to give some reflections on that, and what were some of the words of wisdom he imparted on you and your siblings?
That's a very good question. I'm asked that a lot, especially around a lot of my dad's fans, as to what it was like to be raised by what a lot of people know him as the King of Pop. Obviously, I was named after that moniker as Prince. I'm very honored to share his name, Michael, as well. It's very interesting because a lot of people expect his fatherhood or his words of wisdom to be very different from their own parents because he was such an icon and such an image that many of us know and love. But to me, he was my father first and foremost. And I believe that he imparted on me knowledge that a lot of you may have already heard, and sometimes this may sound cliche, but when we were talking about this and I did a lot of reflection, I tried to think about the words that consistently came up. My father was a humanitarian first and foremost, above being the greatest entertainer of all time. And I tried to think about the words that really resonated within my own life and what I kind of lived my life by. And the first one that came up was compassion. My father came from very humble beginnings in Gary, Indiana, a very large family in a very small house. So he understood the struggle that it was like, or what it was like to struggle, as well as what it was like to be prosperous. And he wanted us to always remember to never forget to have compassion for the less fortunate, because we can never truly understand where they're coming from. And we should strive to. We should strive to not necessarily put ourselves in their shoes, but to be there and to understand that there are struggles that, like Sophia had mentioned, we do not know. And it's okay to understand that we don't know. And then that also goes into the second point that I was thinking about a lot, which is humility. Humility is a big thing to me. It was a very big thing for my father because he was the greatest entertainer of all time. And a lot of people would let something like that get to their heads, that they believe that because of how much work they put in, that they are socially higher because of status or something like that. But that's not the case. We're born all the same way, and we all die the same way. And it doesn't give you a right to treat someone differently. So going back to that compassion and having humility, you treat the janitor the same as you do the CEO. And then finally, with that humility, is you have to understand you don't know everything. No matter how smart, how well-traveled, or how educated you are, there's some things you just don't know. And that's why the strive for education, and not necessarily formal education, but just the desire to learn. It can be about history, it could be about social and cultural differences. It's just as long as you continue to have that desire to learn, you will be able to better yourself and to continuously better yourself, because you will never finish that journey of education, if that makes sense.